Croeso and welcome to Tales for Wales, the podcast that is a pretty shitty podcast. We probably should have got a better intro than that.
Seamless, absolutely seamless. Yeah. I like it.
Yeah. I was just saying to Jack before we started that I've brought my beers up to the room where I'm recording, so I don't have to go up and downstairs, but I wanted to stay cold, so I made myself a miniature fridge. Let's see if we can see this. Yeah. I've brought up giant ice cubes. I put
on a tray. Oh no, this is why you didn't want to lift it.
Yeah, but I've tried to stack them up. Can you see that? Let's see if we can see that a bit better.
Is that just, have you literally just brought a tray up, or like a big plate?
Yeah, but
with
a big plate.
Ice cubes and
I
your
put them
cans
around
next
the side
to
of it. Yeah. So
when you were saying it, I thought you were going to be like, like the medievals used to do. I've dug a hole with some salt.
Yeah. Well, isn't that clever?
Yeah, I mean, that plate's going to be full of water.
Yeah, I know.
At one point.
The whole room is full of water now.
We're having a guest on later, for those who don't know. Yeah. This is part one, episode one, that we'll be filming with a guest. Later on, it's going to be like, and this is like, and you went...
Yeah. Well, I did bring a tray or a plate that has a big rim. There's a rimmed edge.
Forward thinking.
So you can't get me on that one.
Yeah, so actually... innocent, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Let me just re-establish terra firma because I got everything everywhere now. Oh, Christ. Right. This is a bit of a shabby episode it's going to be because we've got a guest coming on in a bit and we don't really have time for a full episode, do we? But we did watch Twin Town.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll put that up on the story so people can watch ahead of time. So they can
so we finally got round. I know we've been promising to do another Welsh Cinema Club episode for a little while now. The last one we did was that Resistance from 2011. I would say this has blown that out of the water in terms of enjoyment.
Yeah. Well, actually, before we get into it, should we chin wag? Because there might not be a huge amount of...
good thing. Yeah, that's right. I'm jumping the gun a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, let's put ice on our britches, shall we, and calm ourselves down.
Yeah, it came in with too much chutzpah there, sorry.
Should we do a little plug for the Patreon early doors?
Of course,
and get people to sign up?
Yes.
Because hopefully by the time this comes out, or soon, there'll be the full video of... we did a shocking Welsh history quiz where we electrocuted ourselves for
your viewing pleasure, yeah.
Yeah, well, we did Cris IT, Sam from Cris IT wrote us a 10 question quiz, which our wives filmed with some pretty expensive kit. We got like really good cameras and good microphones. And,
don't tell anyone where we got it from.
Yeah, off the back of a lorry.
Yeah.
And Jack's going to edit a few of them, and we're going to get some clips out on social.
But the actual this goes out, it should be out, right?
Well, this comes out this weekend.
Sorry, I'm in old mindset because I thought we were doing declares, but it should be imminent.
Yeah, and it was so much fun to do. It was generally, and there's also, I won't say what it was, but I betrayed Jack on an absolute scandalous level.
No spoilers. I'm still not over it. But
but that was
I've just put my hand through the fucking wall off camera just out of rage.
It was a really so we went head to head. Everyone, each time someone got a question wrong, they had to get electrocuted, and it fucking hurt. It was surprisingly
like we used to play those games. It was like a classic. I'm sure there'll be people listening who've played these things before. Classic, It's a really horrible noise that it makes. But it's like from like 2000 sort of era. They were all the rage. Like I had one where you just put your thumbs in.
A roulette one.
Whatever, roulette one. Surprisingly painful to put up with, I'd say. I was expecting like, we're going to have to lay this on thick a little bit. Like, because it's probably going to be like child-friendly zaps.
Yeah,
but it absolutely made you go fucking hell.
Yeah, it really did. Like I generally the next day I had like a strain on my forearm from where the fuck it were.
If you're listening, just go and watch it on the Patreon, right? Because your actions are fucking brilliant. I've watched a few of the clips back, and it's really good.
Yeah. So that's really fun. That's coming up, and that's like a half hour long as well. So it's quite a fun thing. So get involved. Sign up to the Patreon.
To illustrate how bad it was, that's half an hour long because we had 10 questions. When we first did it, Frank said, "Should we just do 3 and call it a day? Should we just knock on the end?"
Yeah, I know.
He was so unkeen for it.
I was so keen to wimp out because
we've done what we promised, haven't we? So
well, I'm terrified of having a heart attack, and I really think that was going to give me one.
Afterwards when we were finished. Like my wife had a go. She just held it with her finger fingers, like the fucking pinky and all that.
I'm glad that it hurt the wives as well, because otherwise we'd have looked pathetic.
But then we read the things and it was like, don't do it if you got heart problems. It's like, don't do it for all these different like illnesses. And we were like, we didn't take this very seriously. We were just anything for the views on the pod. Come on.
It was fun though, and I think it's hands down our highest quality thing we've done, and it's nice that we've actually got that equipment now to make better video stuff.
I love we're looking at it as like we've got that equipment to do the pod. It's not
ours,
the purpose was nothing else. And also bonus improvement from when we did the chicken wing challenge. If those who have been with us long enough remember, we don't look like big fat bitches.
I know.
We got the angles right this time, didn't we? So we didn't have the old side profile.
And for people who don't know, we did film something before, but it didn't really work that well, and the video was a bit shit, and the audio was a bit shit, and
classic.
We looked a bit shit. We looked like fat pigs. It was a
I can
horrible
deal
angle.
with shit audio. I can deal with shit video. I will not deal with looking like a fat piece of shit. I can't do it. Not to the baying mob that is the public.
My little dog's just come to say hello. What do you want,
Bosef.
You can hear Jack on the call.
Bosef of Nathereth.
Anyway, hey, shout out for the latest Patreon member. We have a Sean Hughes. And does he?
Oh, very good. And do we?
Do you, Sean Hughes? And also, it's Sean, like how Welsh people spell it, like our friend Sean, where if English people think it's pronounced Sion. The lion from Sion.
The lion from Sion.
Yeah, a little Jamaican, our brother in there. I'm just picking up the dog like a little baby.
Our mate Sean has suffered with the same...
Sion Davies?
Sion Davies, yeah.
Yeah. But this is Sean Owen Hughes.
Sean Owen Hughes. I think we can't do better than and do you?
No, I know. I think we'll leave it at that then, shall we? Because you clearly aren't adding anything.
I really can't think of anything. I'm trying to think of...
Sean Hughes? Who? Do you know, like, people in England don't know the name Hugh often, and they'll often say, who? Who?
You know what? That is something, even my own mother, who is a Welsh woman herself, she was like, she does Hugh for everything, even the H-U-W, which is Hugh. Hugh. Like, you know the difference. We know the difference between Hugh and Hugh, don't we?
Yeah, we're cultured men.
But for some people, they don't get it.
Anyway,
this is the best I can offer, sorry.
Yeah, we can tell we're all... But we're a bit tired, I have to say. I'm a bit tired. We say that too often. We shouldn't bring that onto the pod.
I used my brain too much today. I've done many pod notes. I did this for those listening. You've heard by now the Declare Family Part 1 episode, right? Yeah. Part 2 was going to be hot on the heels, but we don't have quite enough time or enough appreciation in our noggins for today. Yeah. And I was like, if I've put my fucking brain on the line for this today. I was like, I want laughs, I want guffaws.
Yeah, I'm not really in the mood for laughs.
I want knee slappers, I want everything. And so
the last thing you want to hear from your co-host before you start is, I've actually had a bit of bad news, mate. I don't really want to have a laugh tonight. Is that right? Yeah.
Or like I'm doing like a big like pre-written thing, like a joke, a setup, a joke, and you go, so was that it? Was it? Okay.
Yeah. So I said to Jack, because Jack came over on Tuesday and we had an absolute marathon.
Oh yeah,
of
we should talk about that, shouldn't we? We should do a little horror marathon. We did.
Yeah, but we also when we were on the podcast Nobody Asked For, and one of the episodes on there, we shouldn't say. Actually, no, we could say one of the things that came up was Twin Town, and one of the hosts on that podcast mentioned that the director has just uploaded the film for free in like a Dropbox because it's really hard to come by. Yeah. So we'll share the link in here where you can get it.
Yeah,
from.
We should actually.
But you can download it for free, and it's really high quality. It's directly from the director, so you're not stealing it. If you don't feel any guilt for that. And we decided to watch that together first because we've been saying it for ages. And then we put on like 4 horrors, 3 short horrors and 1 full-length horror. Yeah. And weirdly had a nice little Welsh connection to it, didn't it?
You know what? I actually thought afterwards we could maybe do, if we were looking for content to fill the cachet, we could do one on St. Maud that we watched, because that does very much have a Welsh connection.
We can cover that now because we got our list.
Oh, it's just a little double bill, cinema film night. Yeah,
because we have so many episodes we have to get through. Like, I'm looking at our list now. We've still got about 100 in our pipeline.
So many.
And that's
so
it's fucking nuts. And we add stuff all the time. Shit, actually more than that. We've got so many.
To quote me from like 2 years ago, the thing is though, mate, I think we're going to run out of content soon because like
yeah, we got a 5-parter coming up on Owen Glyndŵr soon, so that's gonna be.
I can't wait for that.
Fucking
That's
chunk.
good.
No, me. That is my magnum opus.
That's your Odyssey, mate.
But yeah, should we start with Maud then? As a quick one.
We're going to do more of it first, sorry.
Yeah, we'll do more of it then. It's called Saint Maud.
It's called Saint Maud.
I got some facts up on it, right?
Yeah, give the bare facts. Basically, this was the main horror we watched because we watched a couple of short films. Yeah. 2 were fucking dog shit.
Yeah, they were dog shit.
And one was
worse acting.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Okay. We were giggling. It was more of a comedy because we were laughing at ourselves. And then one was quite good. And then we chucked on a proper horror, like feature length.
Yeah.
Called Saint Maud.
Should I give a quick storyline synopsis?
Give us a little
there, but for the grace of God goes Maud, a reclusive young nurse whose impressionable demeanour causes her to pursue the pious path of Christian devotion after an obscure trauma. Now charged with the hospice care of Amanda, a retired dancer ravaged by cancer, Maud's fervent faith quickly inspires an obsessive conviction that she must save her ward's soul from eternal damnation, whatever the cost. Making her feature film debut, writer-director Rose Glass cannily lures the audience into this disturbed psyche, steadily setting up her veritable diary of a country nurse from an unnerving and ultimately shocking trajectory. Mordred Clark portrays the sanctimonious Maud with an intense stoicism that belies a disquieting vulnerability, as Maud desperately vies for absolution and solidarity from her embittered patient. Glass tenderly captures the relationship of an empathetic gaze that first assumes an ethereal, dreamlike atmosphere, but before long, Maud's dogmatic candour incites an irreconcilable friction that spirals her mind into a suffocating convolute of creeping doubt and paranoia. As Glass tightens the screws on her misguided martyr, well-placed nods are made to religious horror forerunners like William Friedkin's The Exorcist, further contributing to the film's increasingly dread-filled malaise. And when this insidious fever climactically breaks, the consequences are devastating and terrifying in equal measure. That's from the Toronto International Film Festival.
Well. It's I would say that's a pretty apt summation, to be honest. It's pretty good. It was we give it a 4.5. A 4 out of 5 star, didn't we?
Yeah,
I would say
4 out of 5.
Just give it a 3.5 to begin with, but there's a Welsh element to it that just absolutely gave it that extra half star for me.
Yeah, because she starts off not sounding very Welsh, and then I think there must have been a switch when they're like, actually...
Should we preface this with spoilers if you haven't seen it?
Yeah.
We're going to do a proper talk.
Maybe not
the
big spoiler at the very end.
No, we don't do a big spoiler. But yeah, so basically she starts off, and I 100%, me and you agreed that she starts off doing like, I think, an English accent.
She sounds very, very posh.
Very, very posh. And it almost all of a sudden, I think maybe not even it's before the end of the first third, really.
Yeah,
she's just doing a Welsh accent. I think that's what it sounds
and she
like
goes
to
like how probably more like a 1980s like Welsh accent. Like if you picture like a nun in a I don't know what I mean by 1980s, but it feels like something you'd see on telly, Welsh accent, where it's all a bit like
almost like it's. I don't think she probably speaks like that in real life because she's from like Penarth.
We went to school with her.
Yeah, we went to school. Oh yeah, sorry, we're rubbing shoulders with giants.
We
Margaret
know
Clark, who, if
like.
people don't know, is Gladriel in Rings of Power on Amazon.
Yeah. She went to our school.
She was
really nice, incredibly.
I thought she was year below.
No, year above us, mate. She was in my primary school. Yeah,
was she?
Don't ever fucking question me on Mordred Clark's history.
Listen, I know Mordred Clark. I know Mordred Clark history.
Mate, I know the back of my fucking hand, right?
If you were to turn Frankie's camera just like 80 degrees to the left, you see the Mordred Clark shrine there. I've loved you. I've always loved you.
She plays like this character who's clearly had like a troubled past, and she's a bit of it's implied that might be an alcoholic or a party person.
Certainly like substance abusey, addictive personality type thing.
She's fantastic in it, isn't
she?
She's
very good. She's very good.
It's like really, even before it gets scary, it's just like a good story. You just think, this lady, it's like there's something really compelling about how it's shot and how it's acted.
I was about to say, visually it's very good as well. Yeah. The way it's shot, you don't know what like town they're in or city or whatever, but the way it's framed is like, everyone knows that place, you know, like you've all.
And you also don't quite know what era it's set in. It feels like it
was
like
really good.
It could be 60s.
I didn't say this to you at the time.
It
reminded me a lot of, in that respect, of It Follows, where you can't pin down the sort of time era.
Yeah, that feels like 1950s.
Yeah,
it feels
you don't really
80s.
know. It's like sometimes you're like, oh, this is 80s. Then it's like in St. Maud, I was like, oh, this is modern day at first. And I was like, oh no, it's more like 90s. And I was like, is it actually? It could be 80s because you don't really get. It's very good at like sort of obfuscating that.
Should we mention the Welsh element of it then?
Yeah, I mean, we've already said spoilers, haven't we? So
yeah. Well, maybe we won't spoil it too much, but we'll just say there's a moment where you hear from. So she's incredibly pious, and she thinks she needs to save this person who's a bit more of a. She's a lesbian as well, so there's an element of the person she's trying to save who's a lesbian, or is she doing it because of her sexual beliefs? And she's being bigoted, or is she doing it because she wants to help this person from damnation? It's a bit of a through line for it, but. In it, Modfydd hears from another being, which she assumes is God, and God speaks to her in Welsh, and it's like a demonic voice, but all spoken in fluent Welsh. And me and Jack were thinking, did they do this because Modfydd Clark is Welsh, and they back programmed it, they reverse engineered it, or was that always the case that they were going to have it? We both googled that afterwards, and apparently the director Glass kept hearing Modfydd speak Welsh to her family at home, and she did say, "I'll just find it now exactly what she said."
But yeah, we both sort of clocked that as we were both very surprised to hear like full on Welsh in this.
She said, the director explained, I'd been working with Modfydd for this whole time and gotten to know her really well. I heard her talk on the phone to her family in Welsh a lot, and it's a lovely, mysterious, old-sounding language that seems so fitting. But also the lines you hear, Maud is delivering them. So Modfydd is delivering them, but they pitched the voice down, so it's actually her talking.
It sounds really creepy, doesn't it? It's very well done.
Yeah. This is a spoiler, which I might not say, but so this is what Glass said. It's Maud delivering them. They just pitched the voice down, so it's actually her still talking to herself in her head. So that voice she hears
kind of
is
makes
in her
sense, like sort of thematically as well.
You wouldn't know that from watching the film unless you happen to know that she's a But it was really. I found it really good. I was really enjoying it.
Surprisingly so, because I'd heard about this film. It's been on my watch list for a little while, but you get sometimes, I've said this to Frankie on the night, actually. I was really worried because it was my suggestion. I was like, oh, is this going to be one of those ones that's very like art house horror? Like those can be great. They can be really well done. But sometimes I find them just a bit boring. You're very self-indulgent, but it can just be a bit boring. And I was like, I really hope it's not going to be that. But we were hooked pretty much like in the first 10 minutes, weren't we? It was very good, like psychological kind of horror. Highly recommended if anyone's looking for a decent horror to watch, and especially if you're looking for like a Welsh adjacent thing.
And I rented it for like £3.50 on Prime, so it's super accessible. Really, really enjoyed it. It's a big thumbs up from us.
Yeah. 2 thumbs up for the boys at Tales from Wales.
You sound like Keir Starmer impression.
I was trying to do Keir Starmer. Was that good?
It was really good. Yeah,
I don't think I can recreate that.
But now
I had no idea about Lord Mendelssohn.
I had no idea about Maud Mendelssohn.
I had no idea how good an actor Maud was.
That's incredible,
when she spoke Welsh, my God. Hang on, I got one more in the chamber.
God.
One more in the chamber. My father was a toolmaker. And I fucked it already. No, I got to flow my kite too high there. I got fucking 3 off the bat, and then I was like,
Em was doing it the other night as well. Em was loving her impression of because she doesn't really do impressions. And she was absolutely
nailing it.
Yeah.
When you do one well, isn't it so good when everyone starts laughing?
I was thinking if me and you could do a good Donald Trump, this podcast would be doing numbers.
We'd be fucking in the upper echelons right now. Yeah.
We do stupid voices, but we can't really do impressions.
It's the only thing holding us back. If we could do a good Trump.
But people. That impression reminds me of the SNL show, the UK one, which I really enjoy. Me and Em have been generally enjoying. You
showed me that when me and Amy were around the other day, didn't you? I was surprised
kind of Irish is your granddad?
Yeah. What kind of Irish
is your granddad? In comparison to Maud, though, we also watched Twin Town, which was the basis of our Welsh history film club.
Talking about the yin and yang of the movie world,
Do you want to find a quick summary of Twin Town? And I've got some trivia based on it, but I can kind of fill in the background whilst you find that. Me and Jack I think we've seen it like once before, and I probably saw it when I was about 10 or 11 on VHS, and I think Jack wasn't too dissimilar. It definitely wasn't in our recent memory.
I think I saw it once when I was really young, probably too young to appreciate it, I'd say. And then I watched it when I might have been, I want to say like a late teen, maybe even like early 20s or something like that.
Oh, right, yeah. Well, that's a bit quicker sooner than me.
Yeah, and I remember it was good. But you know, when you just I bet I was pissed. I mean, odds are I probably was. So I didn't really remember it. Like, there's so many bits of it that I forgot. Anyway, I've got a little summary. It's not as long as yours, but it's here we go. While working on a roof, Fatty tumbles off a ladder and injures himself, initiating a feud between his family and the roof's contractor, drug dealer Bryn Cartwright. Fatty's twin junkie grandsons, Julian and Jeremy, who are not in fact twins, attempt to procure compensation from Cartwright, who refuses to pay up. The doped-up Julian and Jeremy then inflict anarchy not only on Cartwright and his family, but on anyone they encounter.
It's really fun, and it's got like a who's who of Welsh actors in it. It's got the vicar from Gavin and Stacey as like this Del Boy-esque. It's kind of like East London.
William Thomas, that guy's name is.
And he's the one who goes, it's the bread, the cheese bread, the ghost is the bread, the spinach is the cheese, and the god is the butter that binds them.
One of the standout cameos of that series, I'd say. But yeah, he's great in this as an absolute piece of shit.
Well, they portray him as like a 1980s Scarface kind of guy, like Miami Vice. Like they have this
certainly like a wannabe one of them, isn't he?
And that's very Del Boy-esque. You know, like when they have like these like yuppies who want to be like big time.
He's definitely big smish. Smish. What the fuck's a smish? Big fish in a small pond, isn't he? Like sort of. He is probably like the richest guy in the town and everything like that. And he thinks he's huge time.
So he's like. Yeah. He pays for the rugby club. He's very flash. He's got a beautiful home. He's got
arrogant as fuck.
Yeah, but also it's directed by Kevin Allen, who's Keith Allen's brother. And we learned on the night that Keith Allen. Well, actually, I think I said that Keith Allen's Welsh, but he just moved to England. But Keith Allen makes an appearance as well. So yes, it follows these two drug addict brothers who just constantly joyride and cause mayhem, and then some corrupt police officers who are trying to sell coke in Swansea. And it's a genuinely good, really good. People describe it as the Welsh version of Trainspotting, but it's not as serious as that. But there are bleak moments.
There's bleak moments in it. It's very funny all the way through, and I do think, and I'm
humor's held up.
I'm probably biased with this. That if you're Welsh, I think there'll be things that hit a lot cleaner, I suppose. There's probably people like, it plays on kind of like small town stereotypes in general, but
I mean, it's a Welsh film, but it's definitely a Welsh
if
film.
you grew up in like a Welsh town or Welsh village or whatever, that you know every single like archetype.
If you grew up in a post-industrial town in Britain, you will still get a lot from it. You'll see because it's most people are pretty broken it.
Sorry, I'll retract my statement about being Welsh. Post-industrial town, whether you're north or whatever,
but I do agree with you. There is absolutely a huge element of it being in Wales that makes it resonate.
Definitely.
It's set in Swansea. They reference Dylan Thomas a lot. Like Dylan Thomas describes Swansea as the graveyard of ambition, and Swansea try to counter that by having like ambition is freedom or something like that. Written
ambition is everything.
Ambition of everything, and then to counter that, one of the characters in there, this Scottish guy, sees that on the floor and says, "Oh, I've got a better poem for you than the graveyard of ambition or ambition of whatever you just said." He says, "Swansea, a pretty shitty city," and that's kind of like the epitaph. And
there's a great joke in that then, where his sort of partner, his other bent copper partner, goes, but Dylan Thomas didn't do as much coke as you, did he?
Because he was like, I'm better than Dylan Thomas. Do you know that the word "fuck" is used over 300 times in the film?
They do use a lot. It's a very. I didn't remember how good a film it was.
Yeah, and it held
good.
up. 'Cause it's 1997, I think, and it's really has.
It's easy to a film that old to looks really dated. I think, but
it doesn't look dated.
No,
it
looks great.
Still, I suppose because it's filmed in quite an ugly place. It's like on the steelworks.
It's kind of part of the aesthetic, isn't it?
Yeah. So, but the camera, the audio's still good. The camera's still good. There's not cheesy shots. Like a lot of the time when you watch all those old things, especially 90s stuff, they think it's cool and it's actually so uncool.
Yeah.
There's one thing, their dialogue, the two sons, when they go like, sometimes it's a bit forced. It's like, it's a weird sort of like poetry rather than normal speaking to each other.
Yeah, definitely.
And the Llyr character, so Rhys Ifans and Llyr are brothers in real life, and Llyr, his character, is so ugly. He might be the ugliest man.
I was about to say they didn't do any favors, but I was like, they're not representing him. That is him. That is the guy's face. So
yeah, I know. Yeah, I just read that Rhys Ifans was the lead singer of the Super Furry Animals for a little bit, but I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, because they used songs from Super Furry Animals in this film. And like I said, it's directed by a Welsh director. It's someone who knows the area and a big. Apparently he was the frontman for the thing in English and the Super Furry Animals.
Well, bloody hell! I was saying on the night when we were watching it, it's mad. If you look at Rhys Ifans in this, it's so funny. He does a great job as he always does, but. It's mad to think, like, in recent years, he's like Otto Hightower in the fucking the what's it called, fucking dragons thing,
House of the Dragon,
like Game of Thrones spin-off, and he's so like regal and proper and like sort of a mastermind strategist and all this sort of stuff. And in this, he's just like a fucking druggy, like skaghead scumbag.
There's a scene where him and his brother are in the bath together naked, doing like ripping bongs, and they have to like rip bongs for like 10 seconds, and it's like
it's another thing where these days there would be like things in place to make sure everyone's tallywhackers will like take down.
But the tallywhackers are right out.
There's a bit with Benzo, you see a little bit of bollock like pop out the back and all that, because they're just like get in the tub naked and just do it that way. Yeah, why the fuck not? Yeah. And there's the most grotesque sex scenes in it of like a middle-aged bloke.
Oh,
it's absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. Apparently, Ifans dated Sienna Miller from 2007, 2008.
I knew that. Absolutely well done, Welsh boy.
She accepted his marriage proposal, but then broke up with him.
Oh. The Welsh always the bridesmaid, but never the bride.
We really, really enjoyed it. We thought it was definitely didn't. I was a bit apprehensive, thinking, "Oh, is this going to be really cheesy and dog shit?" It's generally like a very good 90s Brit film where it's like, there was that era where there was just a bunch of good, like 24-hour party people. There went the Scottish one.
What was the one that was filmed around Cardiff as well? Danny Dyer when he was young.
Yeah, that was 24-hour party people.
24-hour party people, was it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, let me just check. People will be kicking off for this.
I know. It's not that one. It's actually this one.
Yeah, pretty sure that's the one with Danny Dyer, isn't it? Let's have a little look.
Go on, have a little ganders. You know what? It's really bad. I can't remember the other actors in it. I just remembered it's Danny Dyer because he was very young in it.
Oh no, that's Manchester. 24-hour party people was filmed. What Brit film was filmed in Cardiff?
Because they do it in Gassy Jacks. One of the scenes in what is Gassy Jacks now? Human trafficking. Human trafficking. That's it.
Yeah. Just human traffic, not human trafficking.
Oh, I thought it was human trafficking. Oh well. Yeah. No, that's just a nasty thing to do.
Yeah. But it's that kind of ilk, isn't it? It's human traffic, 24-hour party people.
I can see why people would draw comparisons with Twin Town and Trainspotting. I can see that. Yeah. But I would say they're very different beasts.
Yeah.
It's. I don't think Twin Town is nearly as bleak.
No.
It's much more comedy. It does have a lot of black humor in it. And
there's loads of like just Welsh thrown into it, and they don't apologise for it. No, they won't even put subtitles
on it. Yeah, they just. I think I really appreciate that. Actually, they just throw it. They just throw it in.
even as a non-Welsh speaker, you'd get the gist. It's like
it's
someone's,
contextual,
you
isn't
know,
it? Yeah.
it's contextual, and I really like that they don't like spoon feed it, and they just make it very natural. Because like Swansea has a lot of Welsh speaking in there, but there's also a lot of non-Welsh speakers. So you have a nan who speaks Welsh, but then the nan's daughter doesn't speak Welsh, but then the granddaughter would speak Welsh, just because
it's
how the
good,
policies are done.
And
so
it's got for another famous face who went on to do massive things. Dougray Scott is the bent Scottish police officer in it as well. He's
what's he in?
Terry. He's
Terry. Yeah,
he was in Mission Impossible 2. He's the baddie in Mission Impossible 2.
Oh, really? So he's good in it, isn't he?
He's very good, very convincing. As he's a proper dickhead scumbag.
Yeah.
And it's hard to
and
find.
Brian Hibbard, who I love, and he's the guy who's in the Flying Pickets, and he's also the dad from Pam V Do.
Di Thomas. He is in that. And
Di Thomas.
There's a lot of names like that, and they're like
and they've all got great Welsh, like Fatty.
Fatty Lewis. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and it's quite touching as well at times. But it's like
it is.
The ending's really good.
Really ending was fantastic.
Yeah,
it's very, very, very much worth a watch. I think we did 4 out of 5 on that as well, didn't we?
Yeah.
We were very lucky that night. We got 2 fucking belter Welsh movies.
Genuinely, I know it's not a big thing to say, check out Twin Town, but I mean, lots of people who listen to this probably don't, because we have a relatively young demographic as well. This film's 20 years old. Lots of American listeners.
Do you reckon Americans would need subtitles on to watch Twin Town? I think they might.
Maybe. Yeah, it is. It's like so
very, very
like
thick Swansea accents.
Yeah.
But it's worth it. Maybe. It's worth it. Give it a look.
So we'll drop a link to where you can watch that for free. Thanks to the director.
Yeah. Well, there we are, guys. 2 fully fledged Welsh. Well, one Welsh movie, fully fledged, and one Welsh adjacent movie, I'd say. But both excellent. So this is a double bubble Welsh Cinema Club episode.
Yes. So diolch yn gwrando. If you want to support the pod, we're a listener-supported podcast. Please head on to the Patreon and you can sign up at any tier.
And follow the link in the description and give us a vote for the Listener Globe Award as well. Yeah. Just vote your heart to your heart's content.
Diolch yn fawr, thank you.
Diolch,
right. Catch you all next week. Bye.
Bye.